It is me and a couple of other friends. I'm here with Taco still, but I do have Hayzer here.
Hello.
What's up, man?
What's going on, man? Glad to be here once again.
So good to see you. I really like Hayzer. We're good friends, so I'm very happy to have him on the desk. We're excited to bring you one of the more international matches. Right before, we got to see LG Dire Wolves. LG Dire Wolves every time. But we're going to go back down. ISURUS beat Valorous, which makes ISURUS the Latin American regional champions. And now they will go head-to-head against Black Dragons. These two teams will face off, and tomorrow, the winner will take on Team Eager.
And I know that both of these teams are definitely excited to have a shot against Team Eager. They really want to show how much they've developed as a unit ever since World's appearances. And I think that ISURUS have a very solid shot, especially after the performance against Valorous earlier on today.
So you're the coach for Obey Alliance, Hayzer here. First, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself for the people that don't know you for some reason. And then second of all, why don't you tell me what you saw about ISURUS?
Yeah, so I'm Paul Hayzer, as I'm known in the Smite scene. I was really excited to watch ISURUS. I thought in particular Fragger and nozex looked absolutely insane. nozex we've seen before at Worlds hitting all those snipes, you know. When you get him on Toth or Ra, he absolutely goes off, and Fragger, you know, he was straight up fragging out there. He was crushing it. But I have heard good things about the hunter for Black Dragon as well, MarcelZ. I've heard he's a very good player. Yeah,
MarcelZ is a very strong ROM player, actually going back, turning the clock back to Masters last year. XTT would actually pick ROM first overall to make sure that MarcelZ couldn't grab that character. So that's absolutely a dominant hunter that you're going to have to look out for. Not just the character, but the player himself. MarcelZ, of course, is joined by 4 other very strong players on the side of Black Dragons all across the team. They have strength in each of their positions, most notably the hunter, like I said, and then of course Nann in the mid lane, also a very strong guy. PIBE and Kliz known as well.
And you can't count out a name that probably a lot of people recognize due to ranked leaderboards, oShip. He's been known as the guy who's been #1 for the longest period of time, and even, you know, beating out players such as Adapting, and nobody ever realized who this guy was or where he came from. And then they realize, oh, that's the Brazilian jungler, oShip, and he's just constantly been dominating, and it really just comes down to his mechanical skill.
Yeah, it's a nice blend of mechanical skill and overarching knowledge of the game between these guys. PIBE can play most of the Guardian role, most of the Guardian characters in that role, and as I said, MarcelZ just comes with a strong, aggressive hunter play. But out of the short lane, it's Kliz. This guy is very well known in his region and certainly brings a lot of power.
Speaking of Kliz, actually, he's a guy who, if you hang about in streams on Twitch, he's a guy who's obviously very hungry to learn. You see him around a lot in streams, you know. I see him in a lot of European streams. He must be hanging around a lot of North American streams as well, which I think just shows his hunger to improve and his hunger to gain knowledge of the game, which I really like coming out of the Brazilian scene.
Yeah, I heavily respect that as well. You can see him in Twitch chats a lot, and that's where you know, you sort of learn when you're just starting to learn the game. You find yourself watching Twitch chat, and then when you're in the international scenes, it's very important to see who your opposition is against. So once you sort of get your own wheels running, then you can look at what the other guys are doing, and I think that's what Brazil and Latin America, of course, have done as well. I think that early on in Smite, these guys were very clearly lower than the North American and the European scenes, but judging from what we saw at Masters at DreamHack in Sweden last year, this year here at Atlanta at Worlds, and of course one more time here, I think that these individual regions have gone up to another level as far as how strong they are, and that's part of it.
Yeah, I absolutely think they've stepped it up, and they're continuing to improve over and over. Every single tournament, I think we see a team, you know, come out much improved. I mean, a lot of people wouldn't have expected Direwolves to have the performance they had in Game 1 there.
Right.
They definitely showed up a lot more than they have done in previous tournaments, and I think LATAM at Worlds, you know, taking a game away from one of the North American teams, they're definitely showing that, you know, they have potential, and they're learning a lot from these tournaments.
This right here is Beltway, Kliz's direct opponent in the solo lane. He played a number of gods in the first matchup that we saw. Bracket really brought the control out of the short lane.
And you have to appreciate just how much aggression that he can provide as a solo laner. The setup potential that he utilizes around his team composition majority of the time. I think that that's such an important role for a solo laner to play for his team. Because he doesn't focus so much on the 1v1 as much as he does the big picture. And big picture is what helps bring a team together. And
I think that's why ISURUS is actually the team that made it out of that first round. Not just Beltway's individual performance, but like you said, taking the team into account. And this team as a unit is really that type of team where you see everybody really come together and make their moment. Smite over there was a really big deal next to Fragger. Smite, Fragger, and HughZ, you could say, kind of won the first round, but they were all assisted by Daelon and Beltway. So it's really a full team that really makes up this team.
And even with having a set off, I still think that ISURUS is definitely warmed up. They're more than ready to play. And I know that they've been anticipating this matchup for a while.
Yeah, I think you definitely learn a lot from being on that stage as well. You learn what the LAN environment's like. It's obviously changed up a bit, this LAN compared to other ones, so it's a bit of a different environment out there. You have to be careful with your comms, make sure people can't hear them and stuff. So that might be an advantage that ISURUS can take through into this game, being warmed up and being more used to playing on that stage.
Well, that's one of the things that I wanted to make a note that's going to be different this time around. If you joined us in for our first match, that was the Latin American #1 and #2 teams really battling it out to see who would wind up here in our third and final match of today's games. Well, it was ISURUS, and what a surprise, it was the players that have international LAN experience. ISURUS, Beltway, HughZ, Daelon, Fragger, all have played on the international stage at LAN. And if you take a look at Black Dragons, Kliz, Nann, PIBE, and MarcelZ have all played on the international LAN stage as well. So I think this is going to be a much more even matchup than what we saw in the AM today.
And I'm really going to be looking towards that Hunter lane matchup specifically. We've touched on it before, but Fragger, I think, is going to have a little bit more difficulty facing off against MarcelZ because he isn't scared of the 1v1, but he's also going to be a lot more aware of his positioning as far as MarcelZ is concerned. He knows how to play around a LAN environment, and he doesn't let the nerves get to him. In his past performances that we've seen coming out of him, he is always confident, but not overly so.
One of the things I like about ISURUS as well is that they've catapulted to a spot where the international teams really respect these guys. Talking Eager, we see Eager wind up scrimming a lot of the Brazilian teams, most notably, but Latin American teams sneak in there. And they have a coach as well. The coach does a lot of work. We applauded ISURUS' pick and ban phase. Hayzer, you're a coach yourself. What did you see in the pick and ban phase that you think might have been more the coach's handiwork than the players themselves?
I'm not sure. It seemed like they were getting comfort picks a lot for Fragger earlier on in the draft, which I think is something which is interesting, which we'll see going into this, whether Black Dragons have taken note of the way they were drafting. That's an advantage that we hadn't quite gotten into, is the fact that Black Dragons have watched ISURUS play. And so they might be more used to, taking away the Kernanos from Fragger, trying to get him off those hyper carries and trying to get HughZ off of that Ran tote that he's so amazing on.
Yeah, that's going to be one of the scarier parts, is the fact that you only get 4 bans, and both Fragger and HughZ are these guys that can kind of just run the game with the right selection. So, I think you kind of have to ban the Ra, the Kernanos, you kind of have to ban, and then everything else is sort of left there on the table.
Or you pick it for yourself. It's not necessarily a ban, but if you can utilize that God's potential in your own power, I'm sure that a hunter like MarcelZ could take advantage of that kind of situation.
Yeah, watching the way MarcelZ plays the Ram and some of his other characters of choice, I absolutely think that we could see a very strong showing out of MarcelZ on the Kernanos if that's the way the picks and bans phase goes. I'm definitely This is one of my more anticipated matches, ladies and gentlemen. No lie. I really think that these teams have come and excelled in the offseason. Every time we see them during the international phases, they just look better. And I think this is the point in time. Don't forget, at Worlds, a North American team was beaten by HughZ in the squad, and that was a team that he was substituting for. That wasn't even his main role. These guys have experience on the international stage together, and now they're ready to go head-to-head. I'm very excited, not just for this matchup, but the one following it to see them play Team Eager. I think the Latin American and Brazil are some of the more, I think the Spanish-speaking community of Smite is one of the more exciting parts of this whole entire esport.
I can definitely agree with that. They seem to be the region that, or the regions, I should say, excuse me, that have progressed the most at an international level, being able to take or start taking games off of North American teams. And North America, I mean, it's been a pretty dominant region. It's competed all along with EU, who has been getting the upper hand the entire time.
I was waiting for that one.
It was coming. Don't worry about it. It was definitely there on the tip of the tongue. But either way, EU has certainly had its proficiencies, but I think that these LATAM regions have certainly, and Brazilian region, have been closing the gap.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's important.
I mean, watching these teams, what do you think is the biggest takeaway coming out from what we saw from ISURUS earlier? What do you think is the biggest similarity, or what will make them most competitive against some of the North American European squads?
I think, honestly, it's just a mechanical skill. I think previously when we saw these international teams come in, there was a mechanical gap, you know?
Yeah.
But along with the mechanical improvements, they've also made improvements in terms of gameplay. They play the map better, they play objectives better, they build comps around what they want to do, which was something they didn't do before. As we see, ISURUS clearly done their homework, taking away that RAM.
Yeah, this is a character, you know, MarcelZ will just beat you on it. It's akin to the adapting Thor of yesteryear, and, you know, Analysts Thor of what we saw earlier in this. That's what MarcelZ's ROM can do, so just not even messing around. First ban overall, ISURUS playing intelligently. Black Dragons going a little bit more meta, saying no to Kabrakan, certainly a very controlling character, and as we said, we saw the solo laner absolutely control things. Beltway for ISURUS looked very strong earlier.
Yeah, I think that was like 11-0 and 17 or something he went on that.
Yep.
Absolutely dominant. And you can definitely tell they've been scrimming the NA teams with that prioritization of Kabrakan. That's definitely something you see more in the NA scene than anywhere else.
I mean, NA has just always been favored towards the Kabrakan. EU has leaned away from it ever since their split. We saw it come out quite often during the split, but then they just slowly started falling away from it, partially due to the fact that they just organized better compositions in their more around the playstyles that they favor. But I really like the Sylvanas ban that's coming through from ISURUS Gaming, getting away from the Kabrakan. It's just, I don't want either of these teams to get that easy early aggression that Sylvanas can provide, and both of these teams would certainly be leaning towards that.
Yeah, with the ROM and the Sylvanas ban, well, more of the Sylvanas ban, it tells me that ISURUS wants to play something that might not be the Medusa and Ullr that we see every game. Maybe they want to play something a little bit less aggressive, at least in the early phase, so that later on down the line, Fragger can come out and just absolutely dominate with a later game Hunter. Chang'e will be the selection for ISURUS. Is that mid? Is that jungle? We don't really know.
I'm going to have to go jungle here. I think the jungle Chang'e is, you know, something which is, again, prioritized in NA, and if they have been scrimming eager, as has been suggested, I think we all know that DJ Pernicus is a massive, massive proponent of that Chang'e. We see Serqet and Fafnir on the other side. I think Fafnir, one of the gods at the moment, that's definitely one of the strongest support picks you can get. With Sylvanas being taken away, that's definitely a strong pick to get there.
So Serqet works out very well to cancel the healing of Chang'e. Why do you think that Fafnir is one of the, we see it top pick, top ban, why is Fafnir one of the strongest supports at the moment?
So he has, first of all, his damage. Once he gets into that Dragonfall, once he hits level 5, he can stun you out for about 2.5 seconds with that 1 and 3 and just lock you down and chunk away about half your health on his own. Also in lane, he's no slouch. He's got the one which can go through the wave. It can stun out channeled abilities. So early pressure is not too bad, which is something that's really important. And we'll see him going up against the Terra here. So the Terra, actually an interesting counter pick to the Fafnir, because the Fafnir has so much dot damage, it can pop the heal on that Terra ult really, really quickly, which can be good for the Terra.
And you have to appreciate a good Terra gameplay, especially if it, whether, I mean, when you have a Terra in the support lane, you also want to look at the pairing alongside of it. I would prefer to see Fragger on the more conventional picks, such as Medusa or on her, alongside of this Terra. Just not to mention the fact that they play well against a HughZ as is, but there's a lot of survivability already on the side of ISURUS Gaming, so he knows that he can rely on the front line provided by both Terra and Bellona. And then on top of that, you just have the sustain. Chang'e and Terra heals, you can't really go wrong with that.
Well, absolutely, but we do see the Serqet picked up on the other side with the last breath, cancelling that healing out. So that would be a difficult thing for them to play around with the Chang'e heals and Terra heals wanting to come into effect in combat. If the Serqet ult goes on someone, they're not going to be getting any healing whatsoever. As we see the Osiris ban, Ra and Toth. Ra and Toth both taken away by Black Dragons. I really, really like that.
Yeah, I think that's a strong pick to really limit what these players can do. What the Ra specifically, because the Thoth, like we said, is just a strong character, but you already have the Serqet. So that's just proof. We mentioned this before. We had a mini conversation about the fact that ISURUS, when Nozzix plays Ra, the heal is not number one in his thought process. Ra is primarily a healer in a lot of people's minds, but when Nozzix and some other players, Wolfie from Europe, you're looking at Ra as just a long-range artillery mage, and Black Dragon, they already have the tools to shut down healing, but they still ban the Ra. It's more about the damage.
Yeah, another one of those people who does that is Andenster, definitely plays that Ra. You know, he gets a lot of damage off in fights with those snipes, and I think the protections from the Ra heal is really underrated right now. They provide a significant amount of survivability. The heal, you know, it doesn't tick for that much. It's ticking, you know, very low amounts, sort of 30 health early game. But once you get into these late game team fights and you're sieging towers, you can back out and heal. And Ra heal is really out of combat, so I don't think the Serqet Last Breath is too effective against it.
Odin's still on the table. I wouldn't be surprised if Black Dragon tried to opt for this anti-heal composition with the Odin. He's not exactly the solo laner ideal, but the fact that he can counter out a lot of the sustain on the side of ISURUS paired alongside of the Serqet would really help, I think, as far as team fight engagements are concerned, because while Serqet is the anti-heal, it can be incredibly difficult for her to jump into that backline, especially against gods such as Chang'e, Terra, and Bellona already. So the carries of ISURUS are going to be pretty well protected.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right on that one. I think the Odin would be a good pick if he can get through that laning phase against the Bellona. And we see another big circle coming out here. That's one thing you want to look for with Odin. You've got the HughZ, you've got the Suns raining down in that circle. You know, only the Bellona at the moment has a way out. And then if you've got the Cupid cripple as well, that's definitely going to cause some problems. But we see it switch over to the Raven.
The Raven jungle. Taking a page out of what we just saw from the Australians and what we're likely to see a lot of out of the Europeans, Raven jungle certainly a strong pick on that side of the planet. And like we said, one of the interesting things is that North America has their sort of thought process, and Europe has their thought process, and Latin America has their thought process in the sense that they generally prefer aggressive plays. But here, they kind of take pages out of both regions' books, which is very interesting. I'm getting into the picks. Don't worry. Ullr and Medusa both selected. Taco, you're like jumping at the bit. What's up?
I was just going to say, I think I can probably expect that Raven more towards the solo lane with the Serqet for Black Dragon.
Yeah.
But I do really like the Ullr and Medusa, considering that you really have no certainty as to whether Ullr is going to go into the mid lane or the duo. I would probably anticipate Medusa in the mid lane just because of the fact that she does provide a little bit more team fighting orientation early on, and her ultimate is really strong, as well as her clear, just levels 1 through 5.
Very interesting draft coming out from, honestly, both sides. You're right, Serqet will be in the jungle, obviously. So we have a Raven solo. Oh, well, you don't hit all your skill shots. But ISURUS Gaming here. The Chang'e is going to be extremely slippery, most likely in the jungle, as we said. If you had to pick it off of picks and bans, Mr. Hayzer, how you feeling?
I think I got to give it to Black Dragon here. I think they've drafted a better team comp, in my opinion. I just think the lack of magical damage, depending on what build route this Chang'e goes down, is going to be an issue for ISURUS. If we see a couple of Mark of the Vanguards come out for Black Dragons, they could really run these team fights in the early game.
If ISURUS get away with the double hunters into Bellona, into the Raven and Fafnir, I think that they'll be fine along with the healing. So
I think this one's tight. I got to go with Black Dragons, but we're talking like 51-49 here. This one is all about what's on the battlefield, and I'm all about the guys that are giving us the action. It's HughZ and it's Anatoliy.
Thank you very much, Analysts. And LATAM versus Brazil is not a matchup we see very often. I think the last time we saw these guys play against each other was 2015 Smart Masters, Tolly.
Oh, it's been quite a while since we saw these two regions duke it out, but I gotta like these compositions.
Yeah.
It's very spicy here. You know, you have the double hunters, the double sustain out of ISURUS, but you also have some anti-sustain here coming out of Black Dragon. Don't forget that Serqet ultimate is gonna pay huge dividends here, especially if they're gonna try to focus at Chang'e.
I've heard tell that Serqet's going to be one of the picks in this land that is going to run things, and oShip on that one, the analysts were talking about how he's, highest ranked player and all that, how much rank means in professional scene, well, we've seen how little it matters, but still, Serqet able to influence so much of the map, just this amazing ganking god.
The ambush, the third ability is going to be providing a lot of surprisingly interesting tactics where you could just hide in that stealth mode and find somebody just turning a corner along the jungle side unexpectedly, and that's a good idea for that pick composition out of Black Dragons, especially when you pair up the Serqet with this Isis that has the double stuns.
Oh, Nann taking pretty pretty low here at the start, but oShip going in with that Serqet. But here's the classic ISURUS strategy. Coming around from the back is going to be the solo laner Beltway, who picks up first blood onto Nann.
And that's a huge burst of gold for the solo laner Beltway, even opting to not teleport instantly into the tier 1 solo tower, and instead helping out both HughZ and Smite to get these buffs right off the bat.
And the thing with that was the Ullr mid pick. Just a lot of, pretty easy damage. He was getting a lot of basics off, and and he didn't land at the axe, and that was what really turned it for me.
That's all that really you need to do, especially with a Hunter at level 1. To have 2 abilities, it's a huge advantage, obviously, versus 1. It's just a numbers game at that point, but the fact of the matter is that a Hunter at level 1 provides more in-hand damage than any mage on the battleground.
And it's just, you're a little bit more comfortable hitting autos with a Hunter. HughZ's taking some damage here, but he's going to be able to jump away from the taunt. Doesn't land the axe, but as I was saying, it's a little bit easier to land those in-hands as well, because you're used to, with Hunters, trying to hit those auto attacks. Some of these mages, you're used to hitting stationary targets, not opposition players. A
lot of mages will wait for the setup to try to be able to hit those abilities, but Hunters, when often left alone because of their Guardians leaving, you're relying on your own capabilities of hitting these skill shots. So HughZ, he's played the Ra, he's played the Zeus, he's played the Toth earlier today, and now transitioning into a different style. It shows a lot of flexibility in this mid player.
I like this here, taking these Oracle Harpies here very early for Black Dragons. They found themselves losing some pressure in mid, but they recognize that HughZ went back, and so they're going to have a little bit of relief there. They could leave, go to those Oracle Harpies and take them, and those are such an important objective early.
Absolutely. To have vision around the goal field for 1 minute, even though it is still very early in the game at 2 minutes, you're going to be able to spot out the rotations of the jungler, and whenever you're going to spot out the rotations of a Serqet that has such high mobility, you're able to peel it back in your dual lane, so that way you can continue to farm very safely.
We just saw the solo lane there that Beltway was getting really the advantage over Kliz. Is this really how this matchup is supposed to be going, or is that all the momentum coming through from the first blood?
It's actually the way it's supposed to be going, regardless of the first blood or not, because the fact that the Bellona didn't back yet to get the power spike of the Boots 2 or Boots 3 anyway. So just having that one advantage of the bludgeon, Ravana can't cancel out the bludgeon, so the archers go down very quickly for Beltway.
Kliz might have been ganked there by Smite, but the overhead kick was back up, so it's going to be a very dangerous situation if ISURUS had gone back in.
And another interesting thing, in the mid lane though, Ship was thinking about ganking, but going back into that solo lane matchup, the overhead kick is a lot longer of a cooldown than the bludgeon. Bludgeon is about a 10-second cooldown, whereas overhead kick, you have to max out that ability in order to reduce its cooldown. And if I recall correctly, at rank 1, that is an 18-second cooldown.
And even at max rank, it only falls down to something like 14 seconds. Like, it's still a really long cooldown ability. And we saw it a little bit in the Diables versus Energy set. Ro, when he was playing that Ravana jungle, he'd use the overhead kick, and if Energy spotted him using it, they'd turn on him.
That's the basic tactics and strategies for Smite, whether it's to bait out an ability or bait out relics, and then going for round 2 whenever you have that timing window.
All right, we're seeing a little bit of a speed buff invade here come out of Black Dragons. oShip jumps in. Kliz as well is forced away. Smite taking a lot of damage here. Circle of Protections comes out. There's the Waxing Moon as well. Kliz, though, is going to pick up the Chang'e.
Nice little rotation, but not done yet. Diving in the backline with his ultimate. The meditation comes out of Daelon. 4 people chasing out 2 in the solo lane. Nice little stun. The Isis Spirit Ball connects. The Eagles rally, not really providing too much here.
And yeah, Beltway went in there, but just absolutely nothing coming off the back of that. And there's no big burst damage coming out of HughZ either, so there was nothing really there for the Eagles rally to set up off. And, Black Dragon's just basically got the perfect engagement.
Not only that, the timing of these deaths allows Black Dragons to be able to invade the blue buff immediately after. So despite that first blood going in the way of Beltway, Black Dragons are just grouping up and utilizing that combination of the Serqet Isis to pick off unexpected members out of ISURUS.
Yeah, we've only seen Brazil at Worlds recently in terms of international playing. They're going up very strong teams there, against ISURUS Gaming. LATAM, we saw them obviously get that great win over ALG, and that was Lich T was a different team that picked up that win. But as I was saying earlier, we don't really see these teams go up against each other, and it's very hard to get an accurate measure of how good these teams are when they go up against some of the best teams in the world in terms of North America and Europe. And now we're seeing them go against each other, and even though ISURUS dominated Valor's team, now they're up against Black Dragon. Dragons, it's a little bit more of an even contest.
It's a bit of a different style as well, because of the fact that there's more soul lane action, it seems, in this set than compared to the last one. At least continued solo aggression, where we saw ISURUS versus Valorous. You know, we saw early kills in that soul lane, but there was no more continued pressure after that point in time. But Black Dragons has been able to continue the pressure in this side and invaded a little bit effectively here to continue their lead.
Mid lane pressure coming through now for Black Dragons, and I think that's really important for them at the moment. We saw them invade the speed and blue buff off the back of the kills early, but now it means that they're going for these Oracle Harpies yet again.
The Oracle Harpies just doing a good job maintaining vision around this side of the map yet again. Both teams have ideas and mindsets to be able to sneak this objective. Black Dragons has the Isis, has the Fafnir to be able to control that side, and if there's anyone out of position from ISURUS, they'll certainly go for that objective.
PIBE jumped in there, but there's not going to be too much off the back of that. Daelon was raiding around the corner. I'm looking at this Ullr mid pick, and you know, we saw it help get the first blood, but Tolly, what's the plan for this Ullr?
The whole idea is to get a lot of power, physical power on this Ullr with the Transcendence finished. You have that power spike, you're going to have a huge boost of mana and MP5, and whenever you're an Ullr with fully finished Transcendence, especially in the mid lane, nonetheless, you're going to be spamming those Hail of Arrows and Spirited Arrow every single moment you can.
Look at oShip here, waiting around the corner, playing this kind of weakened style jungle, camp the solo lane kind of thing, see if he can get Kliz ahead, but recognizes the opportunity just isn't there for him yet. The fire minions, the little camp there, is going to be spawning in just a second, and that might be kind of, you know, they're not quite the same level as Oracle Harpies, but they're still very important early game objectives.
That's why oShip was waiting around that solo lane, but instead now waiting for the rotation from Nazex, maybe trying to catch him out of position. Seems that oShip is aware that the rotation from ISURUS has secured those Fire Giant Elementals, and the fact that oShip was waiting in that solo lane, I don't really mind that necessarily, because when we looked at the minimap, there was nothing really there for this Serqet jungle to really clear out. His back right Harpies was up, and he was just waiting for those Fire Giant Elementals. Investing time into potential gank versus potential farm is a risk versus reward, but for oShip, there was no real risk or reward there.
All the buffs on the map are down at the moment, except for the right-hand side order blue buff here, so nothing really too much for these teams to do now. They're just kind of waiting around. We could see an engagement here from Black Dragons in the middle, but they're just going to clear this wave and go and clear some of the buffs. But at the moment, it's a little bit of a stalemate. It's
basically a time where both teams are trying to feel each other out. This is the first game in a best-of-3 set. Winner will move on to the second day into the Masters, and this is very important to get off to a good start in the first game to have the momentum to carry on to game number 2. And if you look at the vision here coming out of ISURUS around this Gold Fury, they have almost every single angle covered.
Beltway just banging on Kliz here, but Kliz is going to be alright. He's got a full minion wave there to protect himself. He's got the mana advantage of a Beltway. oShip's rotating around as well, but just going to go for the blue buff here. We saw in the Direwolves versus Energy set a lot of basically the side lanes willing to take these one-on-one fights with each other, but it seems like the Latin America / Brazilian meta is a bit more safe, a bit more team fight oriented rather than individual fighting.
I mean, just look at the composition, right? You have the Serqet with the Isis trying to find the potential wombo combo, finding the ultimate onto the Ullr, forcing out the beats and the Terra's blessing, but in return a lot of damage because of the composition out of ISURUS, where they have the damage off of just straight abilities.
One thing that's important to note about this Ullr mid pick is that he doesn't actually have any CC immune abilities, and so he's very vulnerable to ganks, and even just forcing out his beads for an ultimate is very, very valuable for Black Dragons.
Trying to get the Oracles yet again, successfully doing so. Beltway exchanging a little bit of poke against Kliz. Both of these two soul laners electing to go for Mark of the Vanguard after completing their boots, and a good little power spike here for Kliz as he's trying to finish off that Height of Nemean line, already finishing that off at tier 2.
Gold Fury being the vision battle for this one, being won by Black Dragons at the moment. They have the Oracle Harpies, they have a ward there, and we haven't seen a serious attempt at the Gold Fury yet, but looking at the team compositions, that circle of protection is definitely very valuable when looking towards that objective, but we can't forget that Fragger is on Medusa.
Absolutely. Not only is Fragger on Medusa, but Nazex is on Ullr. The double hunters that are both going for Transcendence is going to give them enough of a physical power spike to be able to really burst that down quickly, and if unexpected, Black Dragons could get caught slipping.
Good cleanse there by Smite, but he still gets caught out with a stun. PIBE taking some damage, but oShip's going to jump in here, going to try and find something. Circle protection comes out. That's really big if this team fight goes the way of ISURUS. Great waxing move from Smite, and now the engagement's on. oShip forced to jump away. Fragger's here now as well, trying to help his team. PIBE in a little bit of an awkward spot, but he's going to jump away.
Nice job being able to chase down the low members of Black Dragons. Not done yet. The teleport is here from Kliz, trying to assist his teammates. The Ricochet doing a little bit of poke here, but the sustain from Daelon and Smite could be able to just top everybody off.
Kliz has used that overhead kick, but there's not going to be a whole lot of damage coming out from ISURUS, so he's not going to worry about that one too much. ISURUS, we're looking towards this Gold Fury here. Think the better of it, though, as Black Dragons start coming towards that objective. Again, though, we're seeing that both of these teams, they're starting to value this objective, and this is something that international teams have struggled with a little bit, and we commented on it in the Dial set that, you know, looking for these objectives is so important to find wins.
You bait out the ultimates, you bait out the relics, and then you go for the objectives when it's a little bit safer. You bait people out of position. You know, they got the purification beads out of Nozek, so that could be the easy target that oShip could be looking for, but getting that circle protection on the side of ISURUS is nothing to oversee as well.
Gold Fury being semi-started up here for Black Dragons, just kind of looking to maybe bed out a fight here. Good stun there from PIBE onto Smite, but the Terra's Blessing comes through. ISURUS wants to fight.
A little premature, not wanting to commit there, and a great disengage from Black Dragons. As soon as they heard that Terra's Blessing, they wanted nothing to deal with it and waited out that long duration of an ultimate. Without that available from Daelon, there's going to be no clear casting, no max CDR, no movement speed to be able to chase down the members of Black Dragons.
Nozek still has an experienced lead here over Nann, but I don't know. It just doesn't feel like he's the same player that we've seen on on these Ras, on these Thos and things like that. Just a different play style for him at the moment. I'm not sure. I haven't made up my mind on how I like him on a Hunter.
I mean, I like the idea because the fact that Smite is playing the Chang'e jungle. There's a clear-cut strategy that ISURUS is executing. They haven't been able to find the kills quite yet, other than that first blood in the mid lane, but they're just trying to still push and pull Black Dragons, get them out of position, and then maybe look for the placement. Thus far, they finally found the 1 oracles around the 12-minute mark, but other than that, this game has still been relatively even. Both of these teams really cautious about taking that first step towards the first Gold Fury.
You know, we saw in the previous set that ISURUS played, and they were very, very aggressive onto Valor's team, and maybe that's a product of familiarity. They've played them before, maybe at a couple of different regional champions. They are from technically different regions, but up against Black Dragons, because we've said a few times now, they haven't really played them that much, at least for a very long time.
Not at all. Nice little trade here from MarcelZ, getting the better end of things. Both of these two hunters in the dual lane haven't really gotten into the lifesteal tree, both going for the Bluestone, Warrior Tabby, Transcendence. We'll see how their builds deviate after this point.
What's interesting to note is that Fragger actually built his Transcendent second, or he finished it off second, but he's even in stacks with MarcelZ.
Able to be transitioning that is the same exact thing. You're going for the boots into the Warrior Tab, you're going to have more pressure in the lane to poke them out, but if you finish off the Transcendence, you're not going to have the mobility, so you might be getting zoned away from certain minions or so. So MarcelZ actually is 1 level behind currently compared to Fragger.
Mid lane, a little bit of pressure coming out from Black Dragons. They're going to head towards the Gold Fury and discover that the Oracle Harpies have already been taken down here by ISURUS.
Not able to really find too much offensively, but oShip is still looking like he wants something here. Level 11 on the Serqet, very close to getting that second relic, completing that Jotun's Wrath for that damage, for the cooldown reduction.
oShip jumping in here. Nozek's forced to use the purification beads. PIBE turns into the big dragon, but Daelon zoning away Nann. Kliz has rotated here as well. ISURUS, they're all coming in now as well. Here is Fragger. There's the Petrify, but PIBE is going to jump away. ISURUS get the pressure, and this healing coming out from Chang'e means that they can pressure forwards.
Oh, the Spirit Ball connecting onto 3. Robin goes into the backline. Fragger forced to go into beats. Waxing Moon not really connecting onto too many targets, but Kliz, he's still trying to go for a little bit more here.
There's the Suns raining down as well from MarcelZ, but it looks like it's just going to basically be a null engagement here. No one falls down. If Black Dragons are not careful, though, the healing coming through from ISURUS is going to give them a big advantage.
This is the point where ISURUS are going to start to group up as 5 and take full advantage of this Chang'e Terra sustained composition. The early rotation there from Fragger and Beltway, they wrapped around underneath their own left side mid-harpy, surprisingly enough, instead of going over the top, whereas Black Dragons were retreating under their tier 1. Had Fragger Fragger rotated from the top, that Petrify would have been just detrimental towards winning that team fight.
Circle Protections is still up for Nann. He cancels out the bludgeon there. Gold Fury started it up. It looks like Daelon's in a lot of trouble here. He managed to dash away. Circle Protections come out. Daelon's still alive here somehow, but oShip's going to jump over the wall and try and find him. Beltway's going to pick up Nann. oShip picks up Daelon. nozzic's forced to run away, and now Fragger's in a tough spot between a rock and a hard place, and Kliz is going to pummel him into the ground.
Just caught in an awkward position, finding 3 thus far, or 2 rather, for 1. Nann taking a spill, trying to find a little bit more as Kliz and oShip has to retreat. MarcelZ and PIBE have to go away. Eagles rally though, catching out Kliz. oShip can only watch from a distance, but not too much mana from Smite Terra to be able to chase that one down.
And the extra protections that Kliz gets from that Mystic Rush ultimate saved him there, or at least put him in a position to get out. Again though, we're seeing these like big team fights, so many abilities burn, but both these teams really struggling to secure kills.
And the fact of the matter is that these teams are still waiting for the power spikes. Once the Chang'e gets more items online, that sustain is just going to get more and more powerful, especially if she opts to go into building Rod of the Asclepius. Daelon's going to be able to get a little bit more resilient, and with that extra cooldown reduction, spamming out those roots, spamming out the stuns, going to have more control in these team fights, and a lot of members from ISURUS can really follow up off of that, especially with the double hunters.
Oracle Harpies fall the way of Black Dragons, and now they're starting to look at the Gold Fury a little bit more seriously. Circle Protections is still down for Nann, so ISURUS feeling, Black Dragons starting this one, but a little bit risky.
Absolutely. Fragger right around the corner. Red buff on this Medusa, sitting at level 14 with the Aussie, finally building into that lifesteal, having more attack speed with the penetration. Makes it very difficult for Black Dragons to really get in her face.
Looking at these two team compositions, how do they really stack up in the late game? Actually, oShip going to blink in there onto Fragger, who's knocked up as well. No real chance for the Medusa here, but somehow still alive. Will the ticks do it? They will. oShip with the last breath poison going to pick up the Hunter for ISURUS.
And look at the cooldown relics. It just came off cooldown. The purification beats from Fragger. The Aegis Amulet just now coming off cooldown. Circle Protection is available. Gold Fury has been complete. Black Dragons secure the first one of the game at the 16.5-minute mark.
So there's a nice little bit of gold in the bank now for Black Dragons. You can see the experience as well starting to head towards the way of the Brazilian squad. But looking at both of these teams, how do they kind of stack up against each other in the late game, Tolly?
It seems that the late game should, in theory, favor out ISURUS as long as they group up and use the sustain. It's all up to how oShip engages some of these encounters to be able to find people with that anti-healing, you know, forcing out the purification beats, maybe even the Aegis Amulet. But if that's not going to be the case, then ISURUS is going to have a very safe time with that double sustain.
Black Dragon starting the Portal Demon as Kliz jumps in with a Mystic Rush. He's looking for nozzic's, who manages to jump away, but oShip says, "You're not going to go away from me, son." In comes PIBE as well, but the Eagles rally comes in from Beltway. Kliz is enough, though, to pick up the kill onto nozzic's.
Nice Spirit Bolt onto Smite Terra. Waximu just way out of nowhere, but Fragger finding 1, finding 2 onto MarcelZ. nozzic's is the only one that's been sacrificed thus far, and everybody from ISURUS, they're wanting to be able to either figure out if they want to chase this down or finally committing to that Portal Demon.
2 for 1 trade here in favor of ISURUS, and they're going to start up this Portal Demon. Not as much damage as they'd like to have online here, as nozzic's did fall down. Kliz trying to contest this one, but it looks like this is going to go straight the way of ISURUS.
A little risky for Kliz to be that far out of position without his ultimate available. It could have been an easy idea for ISURUS to just disengage from that Portal Demon and finding another kill. Nann, though, having to go the safe way, but that's going to give the tier 1 tower here on the side of ISURUS.
So that's some gold and some pressure in this mid lane, and that's really important because that opens up now Black Dragon's side of the jungle for a little bit more invades coming out of ISURUS.
Also giving them the opportunity to ward very aggressively beyond the red and the speed buff. And if we see ISURUS with vision that far deep, spotting out the rotations of Black Dragons, ISURUS can easily capitalize on either side of the map.
Oh, look at PIBE here. Very heavy investment into physical protection, but nothing in terms of magical defense.
Well, the Chang'e is going for more of a utility style, going for Shoes of Focus, going for that Shield of Regrowth to get that huge burst of movement speed every single time. Doesn't have to worry about the damage from Chang'e anytime soon. And obviously Terra going into a full physical, full defense support style. There's not too much magical damage out of ISURUS, and that could actually hurt them in the late game.
Yeah, but, you know, the question is for me, for ISURUS, is, you know, where's the burst damage coming out from? Like, yeah, you can get some, you know, kind of continual poke damage off from both nozzic's and Fragger, but it's pretty single target.
Yeah, there's just not too much AoE, right? The Waxing Moon has to be used almost perfectly in a little tight corridor to be able to hit multiple targets. Same thing goes with Fragger's Petrify, but you look on the side of Black Dragons, right? They have the Isis ultimate, they have MarcelZ Suns, PIBE can go into that dragon form, controlling a lot of space. So whenever there's a jungle encounter, whether it's around Golfear, Portal Demon, Fire Giant, as long as Black Dragons can funnel people away from a corridor, that should always go to the Brazilian team here.
Yeah, and oShip as well is starting to invest in some anti-heal. Serqet has some built into a kit, but now he's got a Brawler's Beat Stick online, and a really penetration-heavy build from this Serqet thus far. I'm surprised we haven't seen a little bit of crit picked up.
Not quite yet. You know, crit's a little bit more expensive. There's more utility on the side of these penetration items. Cooldown on the side of Jotun's, the anti-healing coming out of the Brawler's Beat Stick. Thinking about diving Fragger, but not connecting onto that Hammer Stun teleport coming on the side of Beltway. He's here, but the Terra's Blessing was forced, so this could potentially spark Black Dragons into fighting.
oShip jumps away there from Smite. Walls come out from Daelon as well, and it just seems like both of these teams are a little bit afraid of engaging Tolly.
It's definitely not like the last set that we saw in game number 2 where there was just action non-stop. Yep. Instead, both of these teams don't really want to take that cautious maneuvering, but getting the slight edge is what ISURUS is all about. You know, they got the tier 1 mid tower after they got the first, Black Dragons got the Golfear, but then they responded back with that Portal Demon.
PIBE jumping in there, doing that Dragon transformation now as well. Petrify comes out from Fragger, but, you know, Black Dragons, they're going to be happy with that so far. Smite taking some damage. Beltway just keeping Kliz and oShip away, but oShip's rotated around. That's an excellent hail of arrows there just to spot out oShip. And
not only did they get the Terra's Blessing earlier on, they got that Petrify trying to stun out PIBE. They were thinking if they find the stun onto this Fafnir that's in the dragon form, they could potentially burst him down with their double hunter composition, but nice little job by the Latin American support.
Daelon taking some poke under the tower. Beltway actually forced away from Kliz, who goes in with the Mystic Rush, but he's not going to find too much here. Sustain not really doing too much as well for ISURUS at this stage. Kliz not afraid to go in. Daelon caught out. Now he could be in a lot of trouble here as the suns come raining down from the Black Dragons.
Stunned out of the second dash, diving in the backline. Ship getting stunned out, forced to go into the beads. The Isis Circle Protection was been used. Double stun out to Smite, forced into the Aegis. The root comes in and contains everybody. Daelon keeping everybody still.
Beltway tried to go there for the bludgeon, but it's just not going to happen. But now we start to see the strength of ISURUS' composition. They're starting to get healthy again with this Terra, with this Chang'e. Nozzix is full health. Fragger is full health. Daelon's getting back up there as well. Gold Fury seems to be the target. Circle Protections was used from Nann, so ISURUS have got a real advantage here.
Nozzix trying to trade out poke with Kliz, like you mentioned before. A lot of ultimates were expended in that last team fight. Terra has her ultimate available, and there goes the Blessing.
Spirit Ball was used through the wall there to stun out Nozzix. The Oracle Harpies are up, but ISURUS not really willing to fight just yet. They want to get their advantage. They've got the Oracle Harpies, and now they're just going to wait for this sustain. They're going to start the Gold Fury and force Black Dragons into an unfavorable situation.
oShip and PIBE are about 50% health. Kliz around 75, and with this Chang'e Terra, we see this mid-game heavily favoring out ISURUS. Daelon trying to zone as long as he can, but he's taking a lot of damage!
And MarcelZ gets a nice ricochet there along with Nann. They get the kill. PIBE's back into the dragon form here, gets a stun and disarm onto Fragger, who comes out with the Petrify. Eagles rally from Beltway, and Fragger gets a kill. oShip there jumps on to Nozzix, who's forced into the Aegis. Kliz is right in the back line of ISURUS, and MarcelZ is jumping in, and oShip is cleaning up ISURUS.
Finding out too, running away is oShip into the sun, taking a lot of poke. Kliz overhead kicking away. So far it's a 3 for 2. Make that actually a 4 for 2 as Nann finds one. He wants the deicide. He finds the stun, but there's nobody else really that wants to commit under that tier 1 tower.
Great work there from Black Dragons, absolutely dominating that fight and now finding themselves at a 4,000 gold advantage. What went wrong for ISURUS?
It was just a lot of poke damage coming out of Nann. If we look at the builds coming out of ISURUS, there's not too much magical defense. Now, Daelon does have that Spirit's Robe, which gives you a little bit of both physical and magical protection and mitigates the damage received after the stun, but the internal cooldown can be exploited, and Nann can easily proc either of that with the silence or the stun. So whenever Daelon was zoning too far away from his team, all the members of Black Dragons just instantly took him off the map.
I'm looking at oShip here, and what a performance. 4, 0, and 4 thus far for the jungler. So much damage coming out of that Serqet, and just so much anti-heal control as well. He doesn't even have, you know, a huge amount of CC, but this presence of this Serqet, the knowledge that she can burst your backline down, is forcing ISURUS into kind of a little bit of odd positioning that they're not used to.
This is just the aggressive jungler that everybody knows that is coming out of ranked at such a high ranking, and he's been able to really control the pace of the game. Not really shy to jump over these mid-harpies, maybe trying to find Nazex in the earlier stages, and even opting to go for the blink in the second relic slot. Now, he found the early blink ultimate, it spread at the end of that, and this is why Black Dragons have been doing such a good job, despite being up against this double sustain comp. That anti-sustain from Serqet is just so powerful.
Gold Fury falls down, and now it looks like ISURUS are trying to take a fight here. Black Dragons, though, they just want to disengage.
Not able to really contest this on the side of ISURUS, and Black Dragons just walks away with a very clean objective secure. 5,500 experience, 6,000 gold heading into the 25-minute mark.
ISURUS gets some pressure here into the mid lane, but what are they going to be able to do off the back of it, Tola? There's not a whole lot left up on the map.
Well, Portal Demon is usually the next objectives to go to after Gold Fury. It's kind of like a checklist in Smite. Is Gold Fury up? All right, let's go for the Gold Fury. Is Portal Demon up? All right, we're going to go for the Portal Demon after the Gold Fury, just to make sure that there's going to be no sneaky shenanigans coming out of the enemy team. And if both of those two objectives are down, the next and last one on that list, before the Titan, obviously, is going to be that Fire Giant.
Oracle Harpies is started up by Fragger, and he should be able to take those ones himself. ISURUS going to clean out the mid wave again, but, you know, again, ISURUS is just getting this farm. They're kind of keeping the lead where it's at for Black Dragons. I'm not seeing enough aggression out of Black Dragons at the moment.
No, they're just playing very safe, I would say. Black Dragons are playing... ISURUS is playing into Black Dragon's hand, just trying to zone a little bit too far away is Beltway and Daelon, and then just the crowd control between Ship's Poison Taunts versus the Silence and the Stun from Nann, the damage coming out of MarcelZ with the ricochets, these jungle fights heavily favoring out the HughZ.
Importantly, Black Dragons, a lot of their members, they're just backed and bought some items, and now they're looking for this Portal Demon. Let's take a listen in as they try and take this objective.
Tem uma Bellona pra dentro, né? Bellona. Pega junto. Tem um ward deles aqui, ó.
Medusa tá sem dash.
Tirei.
Eu tenho.
Cuidado pra não tomar muito dano, a Bellona tá nas costas.
Tô zoando neles.
Ah não, a Bellona tá lá na frente.
Ô, dois da.
Stunei. Ah, não stunei não.
Vai fightar?
Cuidado pra não tomar muito dano, ele tem heal. Pega. Mata. Vai strike. Mata. Ah, tem um Bellona atrás de você.
Bellona, eu também tô dando. Morri de fire, mano.
Oh, sai fora. Tô muito longe. Na backline, sai fora. Corre, Marcel.
Você foi muito longe, eu acho.
Ponto isso, não tá.
ISURUS there actually getting a nice couple of trades onto Black Dragons. 2 for 1 there, and now they're going to be able to take the Portal Demon.
It seems that oShip and Kliz were just chasing down Daelon a little too far away and let the carries go a little bit unchecked there, and Portal Demon going in the favor of ISURUS. Small and steady little comeback, but, you know, 25 seconds remaining on Nann, about 10 for PIBE, but there's also 10 seconds for Daelon, so the question is, do they go for this advantage in 4-on-3 on the Fire Giant?
Big for me there was actually, speaking of the Fire Giant, that Black Dragons actually proc the Fire Giant, and the Fire Giant actually reduces healing.
Absolutely. Not only that, the knockup caught PIBE in a very awkward position. After going into that dragon form, he wanted to use that jump very offensively, finding multiple people in the stun, but without that escape, once he was the one that got CC'd, it allowed the Fire Giant to find the easy line setup for the knockup.
Looking at the net worth chart there on the left, and we can see the second last there is Nazex, and that's, you know, Nann's only just a little bit above him. Mid laners struggling a little bit for farm, but again, we're not really seeing him have the impact as we've seen in previous sets.
No, not quite yet, but it's not all due to Nazex. It's also up to Smite to be able to set him up for the damage, going for this utility style, going Shield of Regrowth, Lotus Crown, Rod of Asclepius. This is full utility Chang'e out of the jungle, so he doesn't really have the damage that you want out of your jungler.
He's gone for the cooldown boots here, which, you know, there's pros and cons. You know, the pros, obviously, you get your abilities off more often, but kind of a lack of penetration.
Absolutely, and this is where we see Nazex trying to make up for, going for the Ichabod. More than likely will try to go for the Executioner to allow the Medusa, or could actually go for the Chin Size, considering the Executioner was already built for Fragger. So use the Executioner from Fragger to be able to set up Nazex for the already weakened target.
oShip, sorry, nozzix there gets a stun onto PIBE, who takes a fair bit of poke damage here. Doesn't get his hammer off. Kliz caught out a little bit by Beltway, but he's just going to walk back to his own team overhead kick, keeping him safe.
oShip was waiting along the jungle side on the left. Couldn't really find anybody out of position. We see all of ISURUS was pushing down the mid lane, going north, instead of opting to go into the left side jungle, whereas Goldfear is about to respawn in 30 seconds.
It looks to me a little bit like ISURUS is kind of unsure what to do. You know, they know that they need to farm, they know that they need to get some golden experience and catch back up to Black Dragons, but they kind of seem indecisive about where to find that farm.
They have nothing to worry about or nothing to rush. Like we mentioned before, the sustain alone from this Chang'e and Terra is just going to dictate the pace of Black Dragon's aggression. They're the ones that the ball has to be on their court for.
As we're heading towards 30 minutes. Not an overly aggressive game from either of these two teams. 11-8 reads the kills in favor of Black Dragons. Gold Fury just respawning. Taking a look at the graphs, we can see the lead starting to creep back up towards ISURUS. Experience only 2,000 in the lead for Black Dragons. 4,300 gold, though, for the Brazilian squad.
Yeah, 4,300 gold at 30 minutes is not too much here. You know, you look at that kind of a lead earlier on. Nice little thorns from oShip preventing any sort of continued follow-up. I would have liked to see a little bit more patience, though, to be able to use that relic after the Serqet poisons has already been committed, so that way you take the damage guaranteed.
But ISURUS know now that oShip is over on that right-hand side of the map. They're looking towards this Gold Fury, but now they're staying off it because Black Dragons are starting up the Fire Giant.
It's a great idea, but it's all a bait. They forced out the Eagles rally, diving into the back, stunning out a Daelon. Kliz finds a little bit of slow overhead kicking away from the root, and just like that, because of the aggressive positioning from ISURUS, Black Dragons counteract that on the Fire Giant side, and Beltway was had to go into face check that. Didn't want to get Serqet taunted into all that follow-up damage with all the CC. Forced to go into the defensive Eagles rally. Not only that, they also got the Terra's Blessing out of it.
Exactly. That's a big win for Black Dragons. All 5 of their ultimates are still available. And if you look at ISURUS, you could say 3 ultimates are down because nozzix doesn't have one.
No, not at all. That Ullr does provide a little bit more utility other than the ultimate. Being able to stand switch, finding the stuns, finding the double buffs. You know, you get the extra movement speed and the power whenever you proc that on the bow and the axe stance.
All right, 31 minutes in, still a pretty close game here. Chin size coming out from nozzix to chunk away at the health of some of these more tanky targets, but I'm just looking at Black Dragons, I'm just seeing physical defense after physical defense.
And not only that, PIBE going for that Witchblade to eliminate some of the attack speed options here. Fire Giant still being pulled by Black Dragons, while 2 other members are down the mid lane, really trying to find somebody out of position here on the side of ISURUS.
Looks like Black Dragons trying to find a little bit of pressure in the mid lane. PIBE still level 14, is, you know, comparable with PIBE, but both of these teams seem to be not farming as efficiently as they possibly could.
You know, they're basically ignored the dual lane at this point because they're just too far away from the Fire Giant side. 32 minutes into the game, both of these teams can instantly burst the Fire Giant, so this is where it's very tense for both teams. If one death were to occur here, that respawn timer is going to stretch to about 45 seconds or longer, and that's going to be ample opportunity for one side to force the issue.
In the mid lane, nozzix taking a lot of damage, huge damage out of the Serqet, forcing the Aegis. PIBE's going to chase after him, but he's not going to need it. The last breath poison enough to pick up the mid laner.
You asked for the crit, and there's your crit, HughZ. Deathbringer, 5th item complete for oShip. Just like that, 602 damage. Caught nozzix slipping completely.
And this is the power of Serqet. She's so strong so much of the game here. And nozzix with no CC immune ult, as I said before, in a very vulnerable position. PIBE jumps in, disarms 3 members. He's looking for that dragon transformation here. He might need it to save himself, but in goes Beltway. Transformation coming out from PIBE. So my Terra, though, is going to pick up the kill onto the support.
Circle of protection, not able to survive. PIBE takes a spill, a little too aggressive, but his team gets the benefit of that second tier 2 tower. Still trying to dive this with the root, though. Not going to find it quite yet, but in return, the HughZ Ricochet doing a little bit of a chunk of damage, but it shouldn't be too much, as the Chang'e and Terra does have those sustain options.
Portal Demon going to be started up here by ISURUS. Kliz and the rest of the Black Dragons, they don't want to give this one up for free, but the amount of damage coming out from Fragger is taking this objective down quickly. Kliz uses the overhead kick to get out of the Terra stun.
oShip looking to go from underneath here, still waiting alongside. Has the ultimate, but it looks like they're just going to give it up completely. nozzix has respawned, and fearing fighting 4v5, that's not a bad idea. You know, you're only going to lose about 750, well, you don't lose 750 gold, but you allow the enemy enemy team to get that gold. You give them the mobility of that portal, but it's better than losing multiple members, and then we see ISURUS potentially grabbing that important Fire Giant buff.
Yeah, Black Dragons still have a huge gold lead at this point, but what this Portal Demon does, you were talking before about how you can't really go and pressure the duo lane side because, you know, both teams can really take this Fire Giant quickly. With that portal, you can pressure that side and then get back into this objective. Black Dragons are trying to start it up here, but ISURUS, none of them have backed yet except for Daelon, and he can come through this portal.
It's about half health. Daelon does go through the portal, finding a stun onto Smite. Terra forced to retreat into the backline. Shell goes off. Beltway diving in the backline to hit with that Eagles rally.
Circle protection comes down from Nann. He's going to heal himself up, but Smite Terra is going to do enough damage to put him in the ground. PIBE going to do that dragon transformation one more time. MarcelZ forced to jump away, but this looks like it's all going ISURUS' way.
Absolutely. 5-on-4, finding multiple targets. PIBE in a very awkward position. Fragger credited with that one, just like that. This double sustained, double hunter composition has been completed. It is online for ISURUS.
Fire Giant going to be started up. oShip, he's got a lot of damage on. He's got his speed buff as well. He's got mobility. Maybe he can find a target here if he can find someone out of position, but he's just going to give it up. Fire Giant going to fall here to ISURUS.
Able to secure this late game objective. Still very even in the gold department. It's up to ISURUS to still, though, play very slow and very steady with this double sustain comp. You can't give anything back in return to Black Dragons. They have the burst potential, but if you play into their hands, then you're going to allow the Brazilian team to get back into the game then.
Experience has been pretty much normalized here. Gold still slightly in favor of Black Dragons, but where we once saw a 6,000 to 8,000 gold lead, now we're seeing only about a 1,500 lead for Black Dragons.
Well, Black Dragon still has 3 towers remaining, so that's about 3,500 gold that ISURUS can easily take for themselves whenever they choose to do so. They have the Fire Giant buff for another 3 minutes and 15 seconds. That can give them enough of an opportunity to grab all 3 of these towers and potentially one of the Phoenixes. So looking at some of the builds here, Bellona surprisingly going for a very interesting style, you know, going for the Hide of the Urchin into the Pestilence, and then the Masamune.
Yeah, Masamune is pretty interesting to me, but it gives her a little bit of extra movement speed as well, which I think is really important for a solo laner to get towards that backline, to basically press your W key and get up into their face.
And not only that, it also seems that they're going to be able to, or the Bellona is going into the Margardian Mail, what looks to be, and that's going to allow to limit some of the attack speed options out of Black Dragons.
None of these mid laners have had a huge impact in this game. We're starting to see Nozzix do some more here as the structures fall down towards ISURUS, and you know, this is kind of the game plan they were banking on. And look at this, the tower's just melted.
I mean, look at this double hunter with Fire Giant, red buff for Fragger. Yeah, that tower is going to go down absolutely, no questions asked. Surprisingly enough, though, with Fire Giant buff for another 2 minutes 15 seconds. Not going for the Phoenix squad yet. Like I mentioned before, wanted to play it super safe. This is a best of 3 set to determine who is going to advance to day number 2.
Well, so far, it looks like it's been a back-and-forth game, but ISURUS now have the advantage. PIBE doesn't hit that stun. This mid 2-2 tower is in a lot of trouble here, and it's going to fall down. oShip is behind ISURUS Gaming, but I don't know how much he can really do from this point. It's going to rely on Nann getting a Spirit Ball or PIBE getting a stun for Black Dragons to really do much.
Mid Phoenix is being looked at by ISURUS. Fire Giant still for another minute and 45 seconds. Finding the stun onto Kliz. That Margardian Mail slowing down the attack speed of one of the hunters, but still the second one comes through. And just like that, Kliz having to go back to the fountain and gives a small 5-second window for ISURUS to go into the mid-Phoenix.
ISURUS, they're going to look for this mid-Phoenix. Let's take a listen in to the Latin American squad.
Just like that, the climax of all the build-up just for the climax right there. ISURUS finding the first game in this best of 3 set.
Listen to the passion coming out from this guy. Look at them here as well. They've only won the first game, but they're so excited. And that was such a close game, Tolly. Balanced on a knife edge for so much of it. And they came back amazing there just from the Latin American team.
So much patience out of both of these teams. They played around their composition very well. Both of them, you know, Black Dragons with a Serqet onto oShip, really trying to find somebody out of position, whereas we saw the double hunter, double sustain, very patient composition out of ISURUS being able to get inside there.
And all it took was one little mistake there from Black Dragons to tip that one. And I don't know, ISURUS just took full advantage of that one. You know, it wasn't as clean as we saw against Valor's team, but, you know, a win is a win, whether by an inch or by a mile.
Absolutely. I gotta say that oShip and Kliz kind of really tried to dive a little bit too hard onto Daelon that one encounter around the Portal Demon and left their hyper carries kind of high and dry, unfortunately.
It's just unfortunate there for Black Dragons. They led for so much of the game, but they weren't able to close it out. Analysts, let us know what you thought.
Well, first of all, I want to give HughZ a shout out for quoting Vin Diesel from Fast and the Furious. It doesn't matter if you win by an inch or a mile, winning is winning. So absolutely got to tip my hat off to that. But first of all, first and foremost, one, I think that the individual skill level of these teams, both individually and as a unit, has just exploded. Latin America and Brazil used to not be this entertaining to watch. 14-12, Black Dragons lead the majority of the game, and then in the last 10 minutes, ISURUS just snapped it back like that.
And it's all due to that Fire Giant fight initially around that 34-minute mark where ISURUS really just had the massive swing. And it was so crucial that they were able to pull that off. It was off the setup from Smiteiro and also the Medusa ultimate. And then Nozzix just took that moment to gas pedal it all the way through and just completely dominated as far as the setup from the Ullr stuns were concerned. And those two picks were really all that they needed in order to re-establish their own lead, secure the Fire Giant, and then the game was just theirs from that point on.
Yeah, just understanding that a very small window is all you really need. You and I were talking about it, Hayzer, off camera, about how interesting, how quickly that these teams have really successfully built a fantastic legacy for themselves. As I said, watching these teams used to not be as exciting, but here we're really seeing them grow, and I think that 2 picks is good enough for the Fire Giant. It's part of that growth.
Yeah, I definitely think that game was quite cagey, though, going into it. I think one of the reasons that it did end up with ISURUS taking it is because they had that double healing comp, and both teams were kind of happy to farm out towards the late game. Nobody was really making crazy plays, and we kind of saw that in the small amount of kills that we saw early mid-game. Well, into the late game, the double healing came through. They were able to just take these long fights, these long engagements where they're able to sustain up, go back in, take a fight with an advantage, and win it. I think that's really why they took it at the end of the day.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun to go ahead and watch, and also a lot of fun to listen to. Listen, my Spanish is broken at best. Sometimes me and Taco just kind of curse each other out. That's all we can really handle. But listening to those listen-ins was a lot of fun. Those guys, I mean, Latin America specifically, ISURUS, even when we listen into the Brazilian squad, Black Dragons, we still heard ISURUS hooting and hollering. I think that's also a really big part of what they bring.
It almost reminded me of like Spanish football, for instance, where you just watch them and nonstop. You saw the dale, dale, dale. Like they were all over each other the entire time, and you could tell just how excited all of those players were inside of the arena. Just it didn't matter whether it was one kill or an entire team just battling it out. They really loved the aggression, and it just kicked up out of nowhere, really.
I mean, these are aggressive regions. Take a look at that damage. Beltway, 25-4-1-6, and Fragger, no slouch himself, 25-4-6-3. Top damage across all 10 players. Certainly a fantastic viewing experience. ISURUS Black Dragons, this is a best of 3, however, and the winner goes on to play Eager later on, so we'll see how that one works out. And, you know, I think you're correct. Smiteiro over there, 20,000 healing on the jungle.
Nothing to sleep on when it comes to Chang'e. Combine that with the setup that's provided by his ultimate, and you're looking in a pretty nice position. As soon as those more drawn-out engagements started to happen, oShip just didn't have as much of an effect on that Serqet because he would occasionally get the pick. He had some really important picks as well, especially on the mid lane. I believe at one point in time he even picked off Nozzix, who expended his Aegis and everything. Just didn't make a difference.
I will say, with that Chang'e in mind, there are different ways than what we saw the character be built as. Hayzer, why don't you take this one?
Well, I mean, it was something that you saw out of Black Dragons. They attempted, you know, they were spamming the physical defense. They were farming up that physical defense. Because Chang'e, you know, she built cooldown boots, she built Shield of Regrowth, she built the protections healing item. I'm a good coach. Lotus Crown, that's the one. So she built that, and she just had no power. And pairing that with the Terra, there was no magical damage. So I think what Black Dragons really needed to do was exploit that lack of magical damage in the early game, run them down with all this physical protection they had, but they didn't manage to do it. And so the Chang'e was able to get to full build, where with that build, she is a monster.
Exactly.